Her hands were our music. Her hands were our music, and it went through her hands and into our hearts for us. So that really touched me.
It is my absolute honor to welcome our panel this evening to talk about their extraordinary film, CODA. We have the writer and director, Siân Heder. Siân, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we have the mother and daughter duo from the film, Ruby Rossi and Jackie Rossi, Emilia Jones and Marlee Matlin. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations, first of all. I was all sorts of emotions watching this film. I was very moved. I was thoroughly entertained as well. It's a beautiful piece of filmmaking, and I learned a lot as well from this film. For you, in terms of, this is based on a French film from a few years ago, La Famille Bélier. Apologies for my terrible French. But what was it?
Same problem.
But what was it about this film and this story that you connected with, and then how did you want to tell your version of the story?
Well, I think, going in, I was definitely thoughtful about the idea of a remake and why anyone does a remake ever. It seems like Hollywood does that a lot, where every 5 years, apparently, we have to make a movie again, even though we've already made it. So I wasn't interested if this just felt like, oh, why we want to take this French film and put it in English. That wasn't interesting to me. So what I was looking for is like, what was the potential in the story and what was the untapped potential in the story that I felt like I could make personal and make my own. And what I loved at the center of this story was this idea of this teenage girl. I was one, I remember that experience well, of I came from a very tight-knit family, and that idea when I had to go out in the world and find my own identity outside of my parents, that was a rocky transition for me. So I related to that. I also thought the idea of this CODA character was a beautiful character. CODAs are often raised within deaf culture, particularly in this case with Ruby. ASL is her first language. That's her culture. And she is kind of between the hearing world and the deaf world and feels a part of both, but also a part of neither. And I thought that tension was kind of an amazing tension, especially when you're trying to find yourself.
Well, when I first read the script, I was amazed. In 35 years of the entertainment business, I hadn't seen a script like this. As Siân mentioned, with 3 deaf characters carrying a film, that's something that I've been waiting for, something that I've been trying to accomplish. Trying to remind people, look, we have stories. There are characters who are deaf that can carry a film. And a lot of times they would just look at me and just say, okay, we love you, but it's not for us. Or we love it, but it's not for us, but not this time. We love you, but no. So when I read the script, I thought it was brilliant. I got so excited. And when I read the script, listen, being excited as I was, I had to pursue it. And that's what I did. So I pursued it with fervor. It was something that, it's been a long time coming, as I said, and I really wanted to do it. Meeting then with Siân at breakfast, when it was a breakfast, we never even touched our food, over 3 hours of discussing the script, the dynamics, the characters, the various storylines, how we could expand on this story that she's done so brilliantly as actors. I said, first of all, we have to do this with deaf actors. And she knew that. So I knew that I was in good hands and I wasn't going to have to worry about the choices of casting that she was going to make. For 35 years, I've seen deaf characters throughout film, and I've seen deaf actors playing them, but a lot of times we've seen hearing actors play deaf characters, and I said I'd had enough. I really did. And now what I say whenever anyone asks me this question, that playing a disabled character is not a costume. If you don't live it, you can't play it. You can't just put on the deaf character at the beginning of the day and then take it off at the end of the day. It's wrong. And there are so many talented deaf actors out there who are able to play these roles, who are wonderful as their hearing peers in whatever character you play. And they might even play them better. They play them authentically, they play them better. And it's what you want to go to the movies to see is great acting by great actors. So it's what I'm excited about. In addition to a number of things about CODA, is that deaf actors are not background or they're not token characters in film. And that's really important to me. It's as simple as that.
I first saw Troy on stage. I went to see a Deaf West play, an Edward Albee play, and I saw him on stage and I thought, oh my God, this guy is amazing. Like, he's so charismatic and he's handsome and he's just interesting. And then when I met with Marlee the first time, I said, well, who do you see as Frank? And she said, oh, this actor, Troy Kotzer, you have to see him. And I said, no, I've seen him. I've seen him on stage and he's incredible. And so I think Marlee has wanted to work with Troy for a long time. Troy is an actor because of Marlee. He saw her in Children of a Lesser God when he was 19, and it was the reason he became an actor. So I think he was very excited about that. And Marlee and Daniel have worked together, and Troy and Daniel have worked together. So I think there was some history there. Emilia was really the outsider coming in. And I think, Marlee was an incredible mom, not just as Jackie, but as Marlee, in terms of hosting, dinners at her house and getting us all together. I think that having that period of learning to fish was huge for Troy and Daniel and Emilia. We were actually going fishing for the movie. We had to go 3 miles out to sea and actually go fishing and catch fish. So, and those boats are dangerous and scary. And, we had to teach our actors to run them. And so there was 2 weeks where we were getting up at 3 a.m. and Emilia and Troy and Daniel were going out with local fishermen, with the captain of the boat and guys who were teaching them how to sort the fish and run that big net and winch and pull it in and do all of that stuff. I mean, these guys went above and beyond. Like, Emilia could tell you whether a lobster's pregnant or not at this point, because, they learned so much about the different.
The minute I read the script, I thought, okay, whoever gets to play this role is an incredibly lucky actress, because it's not every day that you get to learn 3, 4, 5, however many we decided, skills. And I think little did I know it was going to be 17-year-old me from the UK. When I auditioned, I thought, this is a long shot, because I didn't know any ASL prior to auditioning. I had never had a singing lesson. I've been brought up in a musical household, but I'd never had a singing lesson. So that was kind of daunting. And so was the ASL. But I thought, what better challenge to have than to learn an incredible language, learn about a community and about a culture. And I loved portraying my feelings through a different medium. I think normally when I act, I kind of internalize everything, because you can say a lot in your face without doing that much. So when I was acting through ASL, I loved it, because it allowed me to get out of my head and to really embody what I was saying. And it made me emotional. It's such a physical and emotional language. So I loved doing scenes. And I love Marlee, Troy, and Daniel to bits. So I adored doing scenes with them. And Marlee, Troy, and Daniel really kind of took me under their wing and helped me grow with my ASL, and that kind of allowed us to bond as a family.
The idea of that concert, I had written it into the script. I knew it was a moment where I wanted to go to silence, where I wanted to, you've been watching these characters the whole movie. I felt like you should finally get to be them as an audience member and understand what that is.
As a deaf person watching this scene, when we were doing this, every time I watched the scene, I cried. As an actor, I wasn't supposed to, or I might have, but I recall looking at Ruby getting ready to sign. It was almost like, she was expressing a natural instinct of what a CODA would do, and here she is on stage playing it. And while she's singing, as a deaf parent watching, it touched me, because I have 4 kids that have done this kind of thing, where they have been in concert, they're singing or they're acting at school, and trying to enjoy as best as I could, but not at the same way that you enjoy as hearing people. But I'd watch my children on stage. But in this particular case with Ruby, who started to sign, to interpret the song, her hands were our music. Her hands were our music, and it went through her hands and into our hearts for us. So that really touched me. And Emilia, you just played it so brilliantly.
I was really lucky, because when we shot that scene, it was at the end, towards the end of the shoot. And by that point, I was so close with Marlee, Troy, and Daniel. I was so close with Sean. And it was emotional. I thought, oh my goodness, like, this is coming to an end. And as I said before, ASL is so emotional, and every time I would sign, I would get emotional. Sean knows this. Sometimes I would get too emotional, and so I in the moment where I sign I love you and I looked up at Marlee, Troy and Daniel, and I just had this wash of emotion come over me. And then I forgot the melody slightly. And that's actually the take that Siân picked in the movie. I think because I was feeling, and we'd all come so far on this hard but special film. I think the music, and it was also the perfect song, because Siân was talking to me about this the other day. There's a Joni Mitchell documentary, and Joni says that Both Sides Now is the work of her childhood's end. And Ruby's at the end of her childhood. You know, she's at that moment in life where she has to separate from the people she loves.